What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. All my fellow alien fans, we got to talk about Predator Badlands. I know everybody's been wanting to know what I thought. Let me tell y'all something. Predator Badlands isn't just another entry in the franchise. It feels like the story the series has been hunting for all along. There's a weight to it. There's a sense of legacy that runs through every frame. It honors everything that came before, the thrill, the fear, the code, while at the same time forging its own path through the dust and blood. Beneath the armor and blood, it's about what it means to be lost and to find connection in a place built to kill you. Deck, the young predator cast out by his clan and initially even rejected by audiences in real life, isn't just hunting a legendary beast. He's hunting for belonging. Every scar, every breath of the burning death planet Genna reflects his inner struggle to prove he's more than what his bloodline demands. And when he meets Thea, a broken synthetic searching for her missing pieces, both literal and emotional, the film transforms from survival to soul searching. Two beings made for violence and function begin to find something rare: understanding. Their bond, joined by a small creature called Bud, becomes the heart of the story. It's fragile, it's strange, but deeply alive. It's a reminder that even in the harshest worlds, empathy can still take root. The Badlands themselves feel like a mirror of the soul, unforgiving yet sacred, and every trial strips away pride, anger, and the illusion of strength until only truth remains. You see, to the Yautja, honor is everything. It's a part of their identity. This film shows how Yautja truly finds honor, how they truly can find their identity. This kind of shift in storytelling, focusing on the Yautja on screen, it was haunting, it was beautiful, and it was deeply human. It relates to so many stories from the comics and so many other Yautja who went through similar trials and self-discovery. I can tell the Prometheus Fire and Stone saga was a huge inspiration for this film. There were so many homages and callbacks to those comics. I remember when Thea and Deck were sitting around the campfire eating and she was asking him questions about his life and the clan and things. It was a scene that was funny, honestly, and it reminded me of Predator Fire and Stone when Galgo and Ahab were sitting around a campfire late at night on the planet LV-223. That was the same planet we saw in the movie Prometheus. You see, Ahab had discovered the engineers and he wanted to kill one to claim its head as a trophy. 126 years after he was in that cave, he met a man named Galgo who had an engineer weapon, and Ahab forced Galgo back to the planet of LV-223 and basically forced him to show him where an engineer was. Just like Deck was using Thea to, find the callus, Ahab was using Galgo to find an engineer. And it's an incredible, funny, dark, action-packed story that kind of reminds me of movies like National Security. The dynamic between the Predator and the human were outstanding, just like they were in this movie with the Predator and the synthetic, only it was funnier in the comics because Galgo was a shit talker. And you have those two testosterones, banging heads. Ahab was a grumpy old predator, always shouting and yelling and talking in a language the human can't even understand. He can't understand what Ahab is actually saying, but he understands the gestures and the facial expressions and things like that. But the more time they spent around each other, the closer they got to one another, and a real true brotherhood was formed. And they took down other alien creatures together. Ahab eventually got his trophy. It's an amazing, amazing story. And so much of Predator Badlands reminded me of that storyline. When I was in the theater, I was literally thinking about Fire and Stone a lot. Badlands was a love letter to comic book fans, and it was a true alien film. I love the Alien vs. Predator films. Requiem is my absolute favorite, but this one had no humans in it. It was alien chaos with robots thrown in. That's how a lot of the comics are, and I think those stories are the best. This is the alien universe. Predators don't just go to Earth. They don't just hunt humans and xenomorphs. No, they hunt all kinds of different monsters. We've seen the trophy walls, all kinds of different creatures, and Badlands shows us a Yautja hunting some of those different creatures. It was so action-packed, it was so beautiful, the music, the soundtrack, the score, while at the same time keeping that dark and gritty and dirty theme that surrounds all of the Predator films. I know some people don't really like the humor in this film. I think those people don't really understand that it actually fit well with the movie. And not only that, the humor was like comic book humor. It was literally the kind of humor that we would see in like Predator, Fire and Stone. I thought the character of Thea was amazing. I really like Thea. I think she's probably my new favorite synthetic. She was funny, she was charismatic. She was almost like the perfect blend of Andy from Alien Romulus and Bishop from Aliens and Alien 3, while at the same time sprinkling her own little personality. And I believe that's probably what the actress was going for. I really loved it when Deck told her she could see his trophy.
You said you were gonna fuck her good.
Yeah, I was wrong. I mean,
That you had some good dick. You
What?
said that in the chat, right?
I was like, wow. I mean, white girls are sexy. And on the other side of that, you have Tessa, which was really cool. I think Tessa was the best antagonistic synthetic in the entire Alien franchise, besides Eldon. But Eldon comes from the comic books. When it comes to live action, when it comes to the antagonists, you have David, you have Ash, Rook, and then you have Tessa, I believe. I think Tessa was the best. I know a lot of people probably won't agree with that because I know a lot of people like David, but to me, David had a very, calm exterior and everything like that. Tessa was just 100% badass, 100%. She felt more threatening than David. That opening scene with her when the tree monster came at her and she caught it without even looking, I was like, oh yeah, she's the one to fear. Now, I know a lot of people were confused on the timeline. This movie takes place in the far, far future, further than any other movie goes before. It takes place after Alien Resurrection. Alien Resurrection takes place in 2381. This film takes place decades, maybe even centuries beyond that. That was confirmed by Dan Trachtenberg himself. That's right, people. Predators exist in the Alien universe, and they always have. This is nothing new that they're just now doing or anything like that. I really don't know why so many people suggested otherwise, or that the AVP movies aren't canon, because they are, and there's tons of novels and comic books to support both of those facts. And Dan Trachtenberg himself confirmed it again. You also have Paul W.S. Anderson who confirmed it. Now, in Alien Resurrection, it was established that the Weyland-Yutani Corporation was no more. But with Badlands taking place in the further future, anything could have happened. Companies bounce back from bankruptcies and shutdowns all the time. The corporation could have also been reborn through several mergers, which allowed it to thrive again and gain power in the future timeline of Badlands. Resurrection's line about Weyland-Yutani could also tie into the Alien vs. Predator Thrill of the Hunt comics that talk about the Big Deletion event. The Big Deletion was a galaxy-wide computer virus that wiped out most of humanity's electronically stored information about the past. And it also led to the destruction of many extrasolar human colonies. In Alien vs. Predator Civilized Beasts, which is a direct continuation to Thrill of the Hunt, it's revealed that human synthetics were the primary vector of the virus's spread, and that humanity subsequently outlawed and marginalized synthetics as a result, which also ties into Alien Resurrection, where it's revealed that synthetics and autotons have long since been declared illegal and were subject to a forced dismantling program. But the Big Deletion event left humanity in the dark for a while. That's why in the movie, everybody in the United Systems military thinks that Ellen Ripley wiped out the Xenomorph species, while at the same time in the comic books, which directly tie into the movies, we see different Xenomorph incidences all over the universe. They don't know. There's no communication because of the Big Deletion event. What that has to do with Weyland-Yutani coming back after it was established that they were no more in Alien Resurrection, maybe the corporation did shut down and in Alien Resurrection, they just didn't know. It rose back up. I have no idea because it wasn't explained. I try not to do much headcanon, but I'm just trying to fill in the blanks. Bottom line, it wasn't explained. But like I said, corporations, even in real life, bounce back from bankruptcy and shutdowns all the time. So that's probably what happened. And they got rid of father, brought back mother, probably brought the company back to its roots. But overall, Predator Badlands is a 10 out of 10. This movie gets a 10 out of 10 for me. Now, initially, when I first saw the film, I gave it an 8 out of 10.
What?
The reason for that is because one main issue I had with the film was with the character Nior, the father. I felt like they hyped this Predator up like he was one of the biggest, toughest Predators we've ever seen in the movies. A vicious, imposing leader who rules the clan with the iron fist. And by the end of the film, Deck the youngest son and the runt of the whole clan takes him out, and takes him out pretty easily. And I was sitting there, I'm like, what? But see, that's why sometimes you gotta watch a movie a second time. Because after I watched the movie a second time, I realized something. When Dek faces his father, he wasn't fighting with anger. And that's why he won. It goes to his character arc. When he was sparring with his older brother in the beginning of the film, his older brother told him he fights with anger, and Dek said, I fight like father. His brother told him, you are not father, you are Dek. It's like he's trying to get him to understand, this is why you losing right now. You trying to be somebody you not. Dek carried his father's rage like a weapon. Every strike was wild, brutal, and desperate, not for survival, but for approval. He was fighting to prove he's strong, to prove he's worthy of his bloodline. But that anger blinded him. It makes him fight like a shadow of his dad, but not as himself. And in that fury, he loses. Not just the battle, but part of who he is. Dek's father, Nihor, represents that old world. A code built on pride, on power through pain. But as the story unfolds, Dek begins to see the emptiness behind that strength. The hunt, the kill, the trophies, they all mean nothing without purpose. When Dek finally faces Nihor, he doesn't fight like a son seeking vengeance. He fights like a being seeking peace. His movements are calm, they are measured. He uses the environment like a true hunter, not fueled by rage, but guided by understanding. It's in that stillness that he finds true strength. The moment he lets go of his father's anger, he surpasses him. That is what Predator Badlands is really about. The war between the fire we inherit and the peace we must create. It's about realizing that rage might make you powerful, but it can also make you blind. To fight without anger is not weakness, it is mastery. And this was the same theme that we saw in another favorite movie of mine called Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. The father represents tradition and law. Wen-Wu had an aggressive fighting style that was full of rage, and when Shang-Chi tried to match that, he lost every time. It wasn't until he let go of anger and started fighting like his mother, a more calm, still way of fighting. That's when he began to beat him. In life, many of us carry our own Nihor, our own Mandarin. The expectations, the voices telling us we have to be harder, louder, more ruthless. But like Dek, we learned that our greatest victory isn't becoming what made us, it's becoming what frees us. In the end, Dek doesn't just defeat his father, he breaks the cycle. And that's the moment the hunter becomes something greater. Not a killer, but a being who finally understands what it means to live. Which is the whole premise of the entirety of the Alien universe, going all the way back to Prometheus. The meaning of life. That is what this whole franchise is about. See, I had to sit closer in the theater to see that. I had to sit a lot closer in the theater. Once I realized that my second time around, that's when I was like, oh yeah, this movie gets a 10 out of 10 for me. Because I loved it. I loved the action, I loved the storytelling, I loved the characters, I loved everything about it. I really loved the fight scenes. I really loved the fight scenes. The way Dek was scrapping. This is how predators fight. It's like in the back of your mind, you kind of know that, especially when you read the comics and the novels, you kind of know that. However, they've never really shown this level of skill and aggression on screen before because they couldn't. You know, most of the films take place in the 80s, you know, in the early 2000s. It's men in, you know, big, huge suits that they can barely even breathe, let alone move that fast. So they couldn't fight like that. You know what I mean? But it's like now we're seeing what it really means, what they really look like. We're seeing them on their own home world. We're seeing them fight other alien creatures. I thought this movie was absolutely perfect. But let me know what you guys thought about it. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please share the video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.